Welcome to Jurisage Academy's YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about important recent cases from January to March 2022. Please note that we have also made individual videos for January, February and March of 2022, particularly focusing on the cases that can be tested in the CLAT PG 2022 examination. So in this video, we are going to talk about some additional cases that may have been left from those lists, but are nevertheless very important for your June 2022 examination. So let's start this video and see the 4 important additional recent cases from the month of January to March 2022. The first important case is the case of Renaissance Hotel Holdings versus B. Vijaya Sai and others. It's a January 2022 judgment. It's a 3-judge bench decision on IPR law. It is an important case because in this case the court has discussed the requirements of understanding identical trademarks. So in this case the court has held that when defendant's trademark is identical to a registered trademark and the goods or services are identical, then confusion in public shall be presumed. Now, IPR was introduced for the first time in CLAT 2019 examination when the pattern of CLAT was very different from what it is today. So in the last 2 years, there hasn't really been any questions on IPR law. But that is also because there hasn't really been a very landmark recent case on the point. So since this time we have an important judgment on IPR, it can be presumed that this will be very important, and since it is a recent 3-judge bench decision, you must revise your concepts of IPR law, particularly relating to copyright and trademark, because that could be very relevant for the June 2022 examination. So that was the first case from this list. Coming to the second judgment, we have the case of Mukesh Kumar versus Union of India, another 2022 judgment. It's a short judgment but an important one. It's again a 3-judge bench decision. Now this case is important because it talks about compassionate appointment in government services. So in this case, the issue was with respect to giving compassionate appointment to the child from the second wife of the person. So in this case, the government rejected the application of the child, citing that compassionate appointment can only be granted to legitimate children, and since second marriage is not a valid marriage as per the Hindu Marriage Act, that is why the child from such a marriage will not be entitled to compassionate appointment in the services. So in this case, the Supreme Court talked about legitimacy under section 16 of the Hindu Marriage Act, and it also talked about Article 16 of the Indian Constitution in the context that dissent as a ground for discrimination is violative of Article 16. So in this case, the court held that since a child from a second marriage is also presumed to be a legitimate child as per section 16 of HMA, there can be no discrimination between a child from a valid marriage and a child from a second marriage. So this is an important case because not only does it talk about family law, but it also talks about discrimination under Article 16 of the Indian Constitution. Coming to the third judgment, we have Hotel Priya, a proprietorship versus State of Maharashtra, another important judgment. It's a short 2-judge bench decision, but it is important because it deals with the rules relating to orchestra bars in Maharashtra. So in this case, the court was discussing the validity of the rules that were made by the Commissioner of Police in the state of Maharashtra, which put a cap on the number of members that can be there in an orchestra that is performing in hotels and restaurants. Additionally, it also imposed a gender cap that is only 4 male and 4 female members can be part of this 8-member orchestra group. So in this case, the court held this gender discriminatory condition as violative of Article 14 and 19(1)(g) of the Constitution. The court also cited some very important landmark cases such as IHRA 1, IHRA 3, the ones which dealt with bar dancers case and the validity of the amendments made in the Maharashtra law. So this is another important judgment because it deals with gender discriminatory conditions imposed in the name of protection under Article 15(3) and on the grounds of supposed public morality. So another important 2-judge bench decision. Lastly, we have Mrs. Pahwa Plastics Private Limited versus Dastak NGO and others, another 2022 judgment. It's a short 2-judge bench decision on environmental law. So since the whole concept of environmental clearance particularly the issue of ex post facto environmental clearance has been a topic of debate since the last 2 to 3 years. This is another important judgment because in this case the court has discussed about the origins of environmental clearance, what is meant by ex post facto environmental clearance, and what is the legal position with respect to the validity of ex post facto EC. So in this case, the court has discussed some landmark cases like Alembic Pharmaceuticals, in which the court has criticized the practice of granting ex post facto EC. It is another important case because it also discusses about the doctrine of proportionality in environmental jurisprudence. So all in all, a very important judgment on environmental law. So this brings us to the end of our video. We'll be releasing more such short videos on important recent cases, particularly for the first half of 2022, that will be very relevant for your CLAT PG 2022 examination. So please follow our channel, like, share and subscribe. And if you have any questions for us, you may leave them in the comment section.